In the year 2063, humanity stared into the night sky with the same sense of wonder that had existed for centuries, yet something had changed. Earth's collective gaze was no longer just curiosity, it was anticipation. When the signal first appeared, no one understood what they were seeing. It was a strange pattern of radio waves, an unexplainable anomaly picked up by Earth's most advanced telescopes and communication arrays. At first, it seemed like static cosmic noise, nothing worth investigating, but then the signal repeated. It wasn't random, it had structure, it had purpose, and that was when the world stopped and listened. Dr. Elena Cade had always dreamed of discovering something beyond the stars, but even she didn't expect this. It was during a routine analysis of deep space signals that she found that the pattern was too complex to be a natural occurrence. It was deliberate, encoded with something more than just data. It was a message, the first real evidence that Earth wasn't alone. Elena's heart raced as she worked feverishly with a team of top scientists to decipher the cryptic transmission. They discovered it was not just a signal, but a map, a set of coordinates pointing to a distant region of space, so far beyond their own galaxy that it was almost impossible to comprehend. It was an invitation and a plea for help. The message was simple yet profound. It spoke of an ancient race of beings who had once ruled the stars. Their civilization was vast, their knowledge immeasurable, but something had gone wrong. Their empire had crumbled, and they were on the verge of extinction. Their message was clear: they needed help, and they were reaching out to anyone who could answer. Earth was their last hope. As the news spread across the globe, it ignited a firestorm of excitement, mixed with fear. Governments scrambled to understand the implications of such a discovery. The scientific community was torn between disbelief and overwhelming curiosity. The possibility of alien life had always been a topic of speculation, but now it was a reality, and humanity was being called to action. The United Nations called an emergency meeting to address the situation. A secret assembly of the world's leaders and experts was formed with one mission: to decode the full extent of the message and determine how to respond. It didn't take long for a consensus to form. The world would unite to answer the call. Earth would embark on its first journey into the unknown. The first steps toward becoming a spacefaring civilization would begin with the creation of a mission that could take humanity beyond its solar system. Elena was appointed as the lead scientist for the mission. Her expertise in astrophysics and her relentless drive to push the boundaries of human knowledge made her the perfect candidate for the job. She was tasked with overseeing the development of the ship that would carry them to the source of the signal. The vessel would need to be unlike anything humanity had ever built before, capable of faster-than-light travel, powered by the technology described in the ancient message. It was an impossible task, yet there was no other option. As the world watched, Earth's greatest minds and engineers began working together to make the impossible possible. Construction of the vessel was underway, and yet something lingered in the back of Elena's mind, a question that couldn't be answered. Why had the message come now? What was so special about Earth that this ancient race had chosen them to carry the torch? Could humanity truly help, or would they become the next chapter in a dying galaxy's history? The answers lay in the stars, but they were still so far out of reach. With the message decoded and the world united behind the mission, Earth was ready to take its first steps into the cosmos. The Genesis Initiative was born, a secret coalition of nations working together in a way never before seen, pooling resources, expertise, and manpower to achieve the impossible. The task at hand was nothing short of building a ship that could travel across the stars using technology far beyond humanity's understanding. It was an endeavor that would push the boundaries of science and engineering to their breaking point. Dr. Elena Cade found herself at the helm of the project, thrust into a position of leadership that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Her days were consumed with calculations and design proposals, meetings with world leaders, and the constant pressure to make the impossible a reality. She knew the stakes were higher than anyone could imagine. If they failed, humanity's place in the universe would forever be limited to this small corner of the galaxy. But if they succeeded, if they could unlock the full potential of the technology, the possibilities were limitless. Construction began at a secret location deep in the mountains of northern Russia, a vast underground facility hidden from the eyes of the public. The ship they were building would be called the Voyager, a name that symbolized humanity's desire to explore the unknown and push the boundaries of existence. The Voyager would need to be far more than just a vessel. It would be a self-sustaining colony, a symbol of human resilience and determination. Its design incorporated the most advanced technology from every nation fused with the alien blueprints from the message. It was the perfect combination of humanity's ingenuity and the secrets of an ancient race. However, not everything was as smooth as it seemed. As work progressed, strange things began to happen at the construction site. Initially, it was small anomalies, power fluctuations, and system malfunctions that could be attributed to the sheer scale of the project. But soon these incidents became more frequent, more intense. Workers started to report seeing strange lights deep in the facility, odd noises echoing through the corridors, and some even claimed to have seen figures lurking in the shadows, faces that didn't belong to any of the crew. It was as though something was watching them, something that didn't want them to succeed. Elena dismissed these reports as stress-induced hallucinations, but in the back of her mind, a nagging feeling began to grow. Could there be forces at play beyond their control, forces that didn't want humanity to reach the stars? She couldn't afford to let these thoughts distract her, not when the project was so close to completion. The Voyager was taking shape. It was unlike anything humanity had ever built before, a massive vessel capable of traveling faster than light. Its engines harnessed the energy of the alien technology, and its hull was reinforced with materials stronger than anything found on Earth. But despite the technological marvel that was taking form in front of her, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. As the Voyager neared its completion, Elena gathered her team for a final briefing. They had made incredible progress, and the time had come to begin preparations for the first launch. But she couldn't ignore the unease in the air, the whispers of something lurking in the dark, something that didn't want them to leave Earth's orbit. She took a deep breath and addressed the team, reminding them of the importance of the mission, reminding them that humanity's future rested on their shoulders. With determination in her voice, she ordered the final phase of construction to begin. The countdown had started. The Voyager would soon embark on its maiden voyage into the stars, but little did Elena know this was only the beginning of a journey that would lead her and her crew to confront not just the mysteries of the universe, but the shadows that had followed them from the very start. The Voyager stood ready, its sleek form now a testament to humanity's collective will and ingenuity. It was time to embark on the first interstellar journey, the first step into the unknown. The crew, a hand-picked group of the world's finest minds and bravest souls, gathered at the launch pad, their faces reflecting a mixture of excitement, trepidation, and awe. Elena Cade stood at the forefront, staring at the ship that had consumed years of her life, the vessel that would carry them across the stars to a destination that had only ever existed in dreams. She had come so far, but there was a nagging feeling deep within her, a sense that the journey ahead would not be as simple as they hoped. As the countdown neared zero, the Voyager's engines roared to life, a sound unlike anything Earth had ever known. The ship's launch was flawless, the Earth below shrinking into a distant memory. Within moments, the crew was far beyond their solar system, entering the vastness of interstellar space. For a brief moment, there was peace, a quiet calm as they sailed through the stars with the promise of discovery ahead. But the journey wasn't just about reaching the source of the signal. It was about unraveling the mysteries that lay hidden in the depths of space. The message, Elena thought, had given them a roadmap. But what they didn't know was that it had been written by a civilization that had long since vanished. The alien race, whose technology they had so eagerly embraced, had left behind more than just blueprints. They had left a trail of secrets buried in the very fabric of the universe. And as the Voyager traveled deeper into space, the crew began to uncover unsettling truths about the ancient civilization that had once ruled the stars. Days turned into weeks as the Voyager made its way toward the coordinates given in the signal. At first, everything seemed to be going according to plan. The ship's systems hummed with the steady pulse of alien technology, the crew conducting experiments and studying the data they were gathering with growing excitement. But then, strange anomalies began to occur. The ship's sensors detected objects moving in the distance, fast-moving and seemingly without purpose. At first, it was dismissed as space debris, but as the anomalies became more frequent, it was clear that something else was at play. Alina and her team analyzed the data, and what they discovered shook them to their core. The signal they had followed, the map they had been given, was not just a call for help. It was a warning. The ancient civilization had been destroyed by something far more dangerous than any external force. It wasn't just their technology that had collapsed. It was their very minds, their beliefs, their understanding of the universe. The civilization had unlocked a power far beyond their control, a power that twisted and corrupted everything it touched. And now, that same power was calling to Earth. Before they could fully process the magnitude of their discovery, the Voyager was hit by an unexpected force, an energy surge that shook the entire ship, throwing crew members to the floor. The lights flickered, and the ship's systems began to malfunction. Alina's heart pounded as she rushed to the control room. Something was wrong. This wasn't a natural phenomenon. The ancient civilization had left a legacy of not only technology, but also a warning, a force that had once been unleashed, and now it was awakening again. The Voyager was no longer just a ship of exploration. It had become a vessel of reckoning. The crew was not just traveling to the stars. They were heading straight into the heart of an ancient conflict that had shaped the fate of a galaxy. And now, Earth was caught in the middle. The ship trembled as another surge of energy pulsed through the Voyager, the sound of the ship groaning under the strain reverberating through the halls. Alina Cade gripped the control panel, her mind racing. The crew scrambled to stabilize the ship's systems, but nothing seemed to work. The strange disturbances were no longer just mechanical failures. They were something far more sinister. The warning embedded in the ancient signal was becoming all too real. As the Voyager fought to stay on course, Alina's thoughts turned to the mysterious civilization they were trying to reach. Had they too suffered from these surges? What had they unleashed, and why had they left so little behind? Was this energy source the key to their downfall? In the midst of these questions, the ship's sensors picked up something that made Alina's blood run cold. A fleet of ships appeared on the edges of their detection range, massive, looming structures that seemed to hang in the blackness of space like predators watching their prey. They were not human ships. Their design was too alien, too advanced, but there was something familiar about them. The Voyager's systems struggled to identify them. And then the truth hit Alina like a punch to the gut. The ships were Vithrax. A communication came through, crackling with interference, but Alina could make out the voice, a voice that was cold and filled with authority. It was unlike anything she had ever heard, but she understood it all the same. The Vithrax had arrived, and they were not here to welcome humanity. "Turn back, Earthlings," the voice commanded. "You have meddled with forces you do not understand. Your journey ends here." Alina's heart pounded as the implications of the Vithrax's arrival sank in. These were the descendants of the very civilization that had sent the distress signal. The message that had called them across the stars was not one of hope. It was a warning, a plea for help, and now it seemed the Vithrax wanted to ensure that no one else uncovered the truth. But why? The Vithrax had been the chosen ones to inherit the knowledge and power of their ancestors. What had gone wrong for them? What were they hiding? As Alina and the crew prepared for the worst, the Vithrax ships moved closer, their enormous silhouettes eclipsing the stars behind them. Tensions escalated rapidly. The Voyager had no weaponry, no defenses to stand against the might of the Vithrax fleet. The crew was ill-prepared for an encounter with such a powerful and hostile force. "Why do you fear us?" Alina called out, stepping up to the ship's communication console. "We seek only to understand, to help. Your ancestors reached out to us. We've come to honor that message." For a moment, there was silence. Then the voice responded, colder than before. "You do not understand," the Vithrax leader said. "We are the guardians of the knowledge your kind should never possess. Your arrival was foretold, and it is a mistake. You will not live long enough to uncover what you are not meant to know." Alina's mind raced as she searched for an answer, a way to de-escalate the situation. The Vithrax were clearly not just protective of their past. They feared what Earth might uncover. But their hostility left her no choice. They had come to protect something powerful, something that had destroyed their ancestors' civilization, and they wouldn't let Earth repeat the same mistake. With no other option, Alina made a bold decision. She ordered the Voyager to activate its FTL engines and make a sudden jump into the void, a desperate attempt to escape the Vithrax fleet. As the ship hurtled through space at unimaginable speeds, Alina knew that whatever was waiting for them at their destination, the Vithrax would follow. And when they did, a far greater conflict would be inevitable. The crew had barely survived their first contact, but this was only the beginning. They were being hunted by the very beings they had hoped to communicate with. And now, deep in the unknown reaches of space, Alina could only wonder, was this the fate that awaited all who dared to explore the stars? The Voyager shot through the void, escaping the relentless pursuit of the Vithrax ships. But the danger wasn't over. The ship's FTL engines sputtered under the stress of the jump, and Alina could feel the strain in her bones as the vessel lurched through space, hurtling faster than light. The crew was on edge, their faces pale, eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and fear. They had narrowly escaped death, but what awaited them was even worse. An ancient and dangerous power that had once destroyed a galaxy-spanning empire was now calling to Earth. Alina, we can't keep running forever. Commander Ray McCall, the Voyager's tactical officer, said, his voice low and urgent. We need to understand what's going on. If we keep dodging, we won't get any answers, and we might never get the chance to fight back. Alina nodded, feeling the weight of his words settle heavily in her chest. They had come to this distant part of the galaxy to find a lost civilization and unlock the secrets of the stars. But instead, they had stumbled into a war between the Vithrax and an ancient force that had once consumed their world. The message that had called them here was not a gift of knowledge. It was a warning, a desperate cry for help. We can't outrun them, Alina muttered, mostly to herself, though McCall heard. But we also can't fight them head-on. Not yet. The Voyager dropped out of faster-than-light travel, re-entering normal space in an unfamiliar star system, a barren wasteland of dead planets and empty moons. The crew was disoriented, unsure if they were still being pursued, but Alina felt something else, a strange pull that she couldn't explain. The alien technology on the ship was beginning to react again, glowing faintly, almost as if it was alive. It's them, Alina whispered, her eyes scanning the star system. This is the place. The origin of the message. McCall was already at the helm, studying the ship's scans. We're not alone here, Alina. Something's moving toward us. The ship's sensors began to ping with increasingly erratic readings, and Alina's heart skipped a beat. The Vithrax had found them. She could see it now, their massive fleet, closing in from all directions, their ships sleek and imposing, their engines pulsing with a dark energy that matched the power they had felt before. But this time, there was more to the picture. Behind the Vithrax, something far more terrifying loomed. Shadows began to form. Massive, impossible structures that seemed to pulse with the same eerie energy as the alien ruins they had found earlier. Alina's mind raced. These were the remnants of the civilization that had once called this place home. The Vithrax had been the guardians of their technology, the ones who had inherited the power, but something else had awoken here, something far more dangerous than any of them had anticipated. They're not just guarding the past, Alina said, her voice trembling. They're afraid of it. They don't want us to know what destroyed their empire. The ship shook again as another surge of energy rippled through the system. The Voyager's shields flickered, and Alina could see the massive Vithrax fleet closing in. But the danger was worse than they had ever imagined. Something older, something darker, had been waiting for them. The Shathar, the true enemy, had returned. They've been here this whole time, McCall said, his voice filled with dread. And they've been waiting for the Vithrax to fall. The Shathar were a race older than the Vithrax, a civilization that had once ruled the galaxy but had been destroyed by the same forces that had obliterated the Vithrax's ancestors. The Shathar were not just another species. They were conquerors, bent on domination, and they had no mercy. Now, with the Vithrax weakened and the ancient technology within reach, they were poised to strike. The Voyager was caught between two unstoppable forces, the Vithrax, who feared the power of the ancients, and the Shathar, who sought to seize it for themselves. The crew was running out of time. The war had already begun, and Earth was caught in the middle of a battle for control of the galaxy. Alina knew that they couldn't just survive. They had to fight back, or the galaxy would fall to the darkness that had consumed it once before. "We're going to need everything we've got," Alina said, turning to McCall. "Prepare for war." The Voyager was no longer a vessel of exploration. It was a battlefield. With the Vithrax closing in from one side and the Shathar emerging from the darkness, the crew of the Voyager had no choice but to brace for the worst. Alina Cabe paced back and forth in the command center, trying to think through the chaos that was rapidly unfolding. They had stumbled into the heart of a war that had been brewing for millennia. And now Earth was caught between two ancient powers fighting for control over the universe's most dangerous secrets. The ship's sensors were overwhelmed by the mass of enemy ships now surrounding them, both Vithrax and Shathar forces pressing in from all directions. The Vithrax seemed to hesitate, perhaps still reeling from the first signs of the Shathar's return. But the Shathar were relentless, moving like shadows in the void, their ships dark and enigmatic. It was clear now that the Shathar had been lying in wait, watching for the Vithrax to falter, and now, with Earth's arrival, they saw an opportunity. "We're sitting ducks out here, Alina," Commander McCall said, his hands flying over the console. "If we stay in this position, we won't last long. The Vithrax won't hesitate to engage us once the Shathar move in." Alina turned to face McCall, her mind racing. The Voyager was a marvel of human engineering, but it wasn't designed to be a warship. The ship's only advantage was the ancient technology it carried, the same technology that had now brought them into the crossfire of an ancient war. It was clear that neither the Vithrax nor the Shathar would allow Earth to leave with the knowledge they had uncovered. The stakes had been raised, but there was no turning back now. "We have to find the source," Alina said firmly, a determination in her voice. "The energy that's coming from these structures, the ruins on the moons. We need to get there before they do. If we can unlock the secrets of the ancients, we can change the tide of this war." McCall nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "I'll set a course, but we're going to be in the line of fire. Both sides will be after us. We'll need to outrun them." Alina turned her attention to the rest of the crew, her gaze sweeping over the control room. "Everyone, we're not just looking for answers anymore. We're fighting for survival. The Vithrax want to keep us from uncovering the truth. The Shathar want to use it to conquer the galaxy. We are the only ones who can stop them. Prepare for anything." As the Voyager began its course toward the heart of the ancient ruins, Alina couldn't help but feel the weight of what was at stake. They were no longer explorers. They were soldiers in a war that had been fought long before humanity even dreamed of the stars. But the truth they sought, whatever secrets lay in the ruins ahead, was their only chance. The Voyager shot through the system, narrowly avoiding enemy fire from both Vithrax and Shathar ships. Every turn, every evasive maneuver was more desperate than the last. Alina's heart pounded as she watched the crew's faces, their eyes filled with fear, but also with the same drive that had brought them here in the first place. They weren't just humans in a vast and uncaring universe anymore. They were the last hope for everything they had ever known. As they neared the source of the energy, an immense, swirling structure buried beneath the ruins of a dead moon, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. The ancient power that had destroyed the Vithrax's ancestors, that had crippled the Shathar, was alive again, and it was calling to them. A flash of light erupted from the structure, sending shockwaves through space. The Voyager shook violently, alarms blaring as the ship's systems fought to stay operational. The crew scrambled to keep control, but something else had awoken. Something ancient and powerful that had been dormant for eons. And now it was aware of their presence. "We're too close," McCall shouted. "We need to pull back. The energy is destabilizing." But Alina didn't hesitate. They couldn't pull back now. They had come too far. They had to learn what had driven the ancients to madness. They had to find the power that could end the war. "Prepare for entry," Alina ordered. "This is our only chance. We go in now, or we never get out." The Voyager plunged toward the heart of the ancient structure, the energy from the ruins enveloping the ship, the varied fabric of space twisting around them. The battle for survival was no longer in their hands. It was in the hands of whatever lay ahead. The Voyager was about to make its final approach into the heart of darkness. The Voyager shuddered violently as it entered the gravitational pull of the ancient structure. The ship's engines strained against the overwhelming force of the energy emanating from the ruins. Every moment felt like it could be their last. Alina Cade gripped the armrests of her seat, her gaze fixed on the dark, swirling mass of energy ahead. It was as if the very fabric of the universe was being torn apart around them, and the Voyager was caught in the middle of it all. "Hold together," Alina muttered under her breath, watching as the crew worked tirelessly to keep the ship intact. Outside the viewport, the shattered remnants of a once great civilization loomed large. Towering spires of metal and stone rose from the barren surface of the dead moon, now twisted and warped by time and decay. The ruins were older than anything Earth had ever seen, yet their technology still hummed with a dark, ominous power. Entering the structure's atmosphere, Commander McCall reported, his voice tense. "This is it, Alina. Whatever's in there, we're about to face it head-on." The ship lurched again as they approached a vast, hollowed-out section of the ruins, its walls pulsating with light that seemed to come from nowhere, illuminating everything with an eerie glow. It was clear that the energy here wasn't just a relic. It was alive, sentient even, responding to their presence. The ruins had been waiting for them. Alina's mind raced with questions. Why had the ancients abandoned this place? Why had the Vithrax and Shothar guarded it so fiercely? And what was the secret to this ancient power that had destroyed civilizations and could now change the fate of the galaxy? The Voyager descended slowly, the ship's landing gears making contact with the cracked surface of the ruined moon. The moment the ship touched down, a deep, resonant hum filled the air, vibrating through the hull of the ship like an ancient heartbeat. The crew stood frozen, feeling the weight of the silence around them. The battle outside had faded into nothingness. There was only the hum of the power that lay ahead. "Are we safe?" Dr. Marijan, the ship's lead scientist, asked as she looked out the window, her voice filled with awe and fear. "This place, it's alive. The energy is unlike anything I've ever studied. We have no idea what we're dealing with. We need to move now," Alina said, shaking her head. "The longer we stay here, the more dangerous it becomes. The Shothar and Vithrax will find us. But if we can get to the center, to whatever is powering this structure, we may be able to stop them." The crew quickly donned their suits and prepared to leave the ship. The hatch opened, and the team emerged into the ruins, stepping cautiously onto the cold, cracked ground. Around them, strange symbols and alien markings adorned the walls, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. The atmosphere felt thick with tension, as if the very air around them was charged with ancient power. Alina led the way, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel the power in her bones, an energy that seemed to whisper to her, beckoning her forward. It was as if the structure was calling to her, guiding her toward something. Her steps quickened, her mind focused on the one goal that had driven them all here, to uncover the truth. As they moved deeper into the ruins, the walls seemed to close in around them. The corridors twisted and turned in impossible ways, as if the space itself was being warped by the energy. The crew followed Alina, their eyes wide with both fear and awe. They were about to face the very force that had shaped the galaxy's destiny, a force that had once brought an entire civilization to its knees. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, the walls around them groaned, and a low guttural sound echoed through the halls. Alina's pulse quickened as a massive, shadowy figure materialized in the distance. It was a being unlike any they had seen before, made entirely of the same dark energy that had pervaded the ruins. It was as if the structure itself had come alive. And now it stood before them, waiting. This is what was left behind," Dr. Jen whispered, her voice trembling. "The consciousness of the ancients. They were never gone. They never died. They just changed." The figure moved closer, its form shifting and rippling with raw power. It was no longer just a symbol or a relic. It was the ancient force itself, and it had awoken. Alina stepped forward, her voice steady despite the overwhelming presence of the entity. "We came to understand. We came to end the war. We're not your enemies. Help us." The being paused, as if considering her words. Then, in a voice that was not a voice at all, but a series of overlapping thoughts, it spoke. "You are the ones who were chosen." The entity's presence was overwhelming, like 1,000 voices all speaking at once, each thought piercing Alina's mind like a blade of light. She felt the weight of its consciousness, an intelligence so vast and ancient that it defied comprehension. The air around her seemed to bend and shimmer with power, as though the very fabric of reality itself was reacting to its existence. The others stood frozen, their eyes wide with a mix of awe and terror, unsure of whether to move, speak, or even breathe. Alina's heart raced, but she refused to back down. The fate of humanity and the galaxy itself was at stake, and she was the only one standing between that ancient force and the destruction that could follow. She clenched her fists, her voice firm. "Chosen? By who?" Alina asked, her voice trembling slightly but resolute. "What do you mean? We don't want to fight you. We came to understand." For a long moment, there was nothing but the sound of her own breathing. The air seemed to hum with energy, as if the very walls of the ancient structure were listening. Then the entity responded, its thoughts reverberating through Alina's mind, each word echoing like a distant drumbeat. "You are the inheritors of what was once lost. The war that ravaged the stars, the destruction that followed, was not the end. It was only the beginning. Your species, Earth, was destined to uncover the truth and face the power that has lingered in the shadows. You will choose whether to wield it or destroy it." Alina's mind spun. What could it mean to inherit such power? To face the very force that had once brought the galaxy to the brink of collapse? The weight of the decision hung heavy in the air, and she knew that the wrong choice could destroy everything. The Shother, the Vithrax, they're fighting for control of this power, aren't they? Alina asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "But why is Earth involved? Why us?" The entity's response was instantaneous, a wave of thoughts crashing over her, each one clearer than the last. The Vithrax were the first to seek it. The Shother, the second. Both races failed because they could not see beyond their own desires. But you, Earth, you have the potential to do what they could not. You are different. You can wield the knowledge and the power that lies within the core of this galaxy. But that power comes with a price. And the price is not what you expect. The air around Alina seemed to crackle with energy as the full scope of what the entity was revealing began to settle into her mind. The power that had once destroyed civilizations, that had left the Vithrax and Shother broken, was now hers to command. But the cost of wielding such power was more than she could fathom. It wasn't just about strength. It was about understanding, responsibility, and the burden of shaping the future of the stars. Her breath hitched as the entity continued, its thoughts a torrent of images and emotions, memories of a time long past. "You must decide, Alina Cade. Will you use the power to shape the future of your species? Will you wield it to conquer the stars, to defend them, or to protect your people from the forces that would consume you? Or will you destroy it, bury it once again, and let the galaxy fall back into the darkness from which it came. Elena felt the weight of the decision, the enormity of it. There was no guide to help her, no clear path to follow. She and her crew had come here seeking answers, but now they were faced with a choice that would alter the course of history. The power to save or destroy the galaxy was within their reach, but would they be able to handle it? "We didn't come here to rule," Elena said, her voice steady but filled with conviction. "We came to ensure that what happened to the Vithrax doesn't happen to us. We came to protect the future." The entity seemed to pause, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then, its response came not as thoughts, but as a deep, resounding voice that filled the chamber. "Then you have chosen the path of guardianship. The power is yours, but be warned. Every choice will ripple through time. Every action will create a new future. And you, Elena Cade, will stand as the first of the new era." The ground beneath them began to tremble as energy surged from the heart of the structure. The ancient power was now theirs to command, but its weight was theirs to bear. Elena could feel the responsibility settle into her bones, the knowledge of what lay ahead clear in her mind. "We will not fail," Elena whispered, her eyes meeting the crew's, each of them understanding the enormity of the journey they had just begun. The ruins around them seemed to come alive, as if the entity itself had accepted their decision. The ancient power pulsed, but this time, it felt less like a threat and more like an ally. Elena and her crew stood at the threshold of a new beginning, the power of the stars within their grasp, but with the knowledge that the future would be shaped by the choices they made from this point forward. As they turned to face the unknown, they knew one thing for certain. The journey into the cosmos had only just begun.